Hi, I'm Travis Monson with Once Upon a Board Game. Today I want to teach you how to play a fun little roll and write game called Qwinto. As you can see, I'm not holding the box, I'm just holding one of the bigger score sheets, and as you'll see in the run through, I have the score sheets kind of blown up and laminated so they're easy to use. I got it, it's kind of easier to point out. This is a really quick, fast, easy to play roll and write game. It says in the rules that it goes from 2 to 4 players, and the game's 15-20 minutes. It's really quick, and I want to just mention right up front that we have definitely played this with more than just 4 players. I'll talk more about that at the end, but it's just a fun, simple little roll and write game, again, where you roll the dice and you write something on your board and you try and get the highest score. It's really quick and easy, really family friendly. Let me show you how it plays. Okay, as I said, I'm going to be teaching Qwinto. Now, I want to point out first and foremost that this is a roll and write game. The rules say it goes from 2 to 4 players, and all you get in the box is a pad of score sheets and 3 dice. Orange, yellow, and purple dice. Now, this is not what comes in the box. This is basically my own version that's kind of blown up and laminated, so it's easier to write on. So it's not really little. Also, I've got my own kind of fancier dice that I prefer to use. But again, this is what the scorecard looks like, and of course you just need the 3 different colored dice. And so to play the game, you just give each person their own scorecard and something to write with, and grab the dice and you're ready to go. So how does this game play? What are we trying to do? All right, well, highest score wins, right? That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get the highest score. You're gonna score in a couple of different ways, and it's kind of summarized along the bottom of the score sheet here. Okay, here's what each player's scorecard is gonna look like. And right along the bottom is how your final score is kind of summarized. So as you can see, first of all, you're going to get a score in each of the 3 colors. Well, how does that work? You can see that each row has 9 empty spaces where you can put a number, okay? At the end of the game, you will score, first and foremost, if there are any empty spaces in any row. And of course, you just ignore the one little vacant spot. You just assume that it's not even there. You don't worry about that. That's not considered an empty space. The empty spaces would be the empty, white spaces. So to score each color, you'll add up, if there's any empty spaces, okay? You'll add up the number of spaces that are filled in, right? So with 9 empty spaces, if you have, if all but one of them are filled in, you would have 8 of the 9 filled in, so your score would be 8 because you had 8 spaces filled in, right? However, if you manage to fill in all 9 spaces, then your score will be whatever number is written in the rightmost empty space. Okay, so ideally, you want to fill in all the spaces and get a number. The numbers could be as high as 18 for each row. So it's either the number that's in the rightmost space if they're all filled in, or simply the number of filled in spaces if there are any empty spaces. That's what you'll put for each of the 3 different colors. You'll score each different row the same way. Next, you'll see there's these 5 pentagons. You'll also notice on the board, there's 5 different places where there's a column of 3 empty spaces that match up across, the entire board. In each of those 5 columns, one of the empty spaces is a pentagon. If you manage to fill in all 3 spaces in any one of those 5 columns, right, you will put whatever number you have written in the pentagon as additional points that you'll score. Okay, so you want to fill in all the spaces in those columns to get those bonus pentagon points. And then finally, you'll see that there's this failed attempt. Every time that it's your turn and you cannot, or perhaps you just choose not, to put a number on your board, you would have to mark off that you had a failed attempt. Okay, that's one way to trigger the end of the game if any one player has had 4 failed attempts. But you see that each failed attempt would be minus 5 points. So you would mark the total number of points that you're going to lose for failed attempts there, and you'd add it all up, subtract that, and that's your final score. Highest score wins the game. Okay, I just talked about how we're going to score, but how do we get those numbers into the sheet? How are we going to get those numbers that are going to let us score points? Well, let's talk about a turn. Again, the rules say this is a 2 to 4 player game. I do have some thoughts about that. I'll talk about that at the end of the game. But when it is your turn, when you are the active player, you choose any number of dice. You can choose as few as 1 of the 3 dice, or you can choose all 3 of them. If you want to choose 2, you choose which 2. The choices and combinations are completely up to you as the active player, right? But let's say, for instance, I wanted to roll all 3, right? So if it's my turn, I say I want to roll all 3 dice, okay? You simply roll all the dice, and then you would add them together and announce that number for everybody at the table. In this case, I would say 15, okay? You do have the option, you can reroll. This is a rule that is easily forgotten. It's even been forgotten by me on many occasions in the past. You have 1 chance at a reroll,
Okay, each turn, when you're the active player, you can re-roll the dice once. However, if you choose to re-roll, you have to re-roll all the dice. You can't choose to keep some and re-roll others. It's either keep it all or re-roll it all. And if you do choose to re-roll, you have to keep the new result. You can't go back and take what the previous result was. In this case, I do like the result. So the result is 15. Okay, so now what you're gonna do, like I said, you sum the dice. Okay, whether it was just a single die or two or all three, you announce what the sum total of the dice is. And that number is what every player is going to have a chance to write into a space on their board. Okay, so in this case, like I said, 15 is the total. Okay, now let's talk about this. Okay, first and foremost, that number, the active player has to write something down. If the active player does not write something down, that's when they would have to mark, a failed attempt, for instance, if it can't fit or if I choose not to write it. Every other player at the table, they can write the number, but they are not required to. The only player that is required to write something on their turn is the active player. Okay, so like for instance, if the number that was rolled doesn't fit, for Allie, she doesn't have to mark it down and she doesn't get a failed attempt. Only the active player would mark the failed attempt if they don't take it, right? Okay, so like I said, you announce the total, which is 15, and you write that in any box. Now there's a couple of caveats. First and foremost, every row individually has to go in ascending order from left to right, meaning the lowest number would be on the left, the lowest number would be a 1, and the highest number would possibly be an 18 if you had, 3 6s on the dice, okay? So you have to go ascending order from left to right. You do not have to put the numbers, you don't have to fill them in left to right. I could put one here, and then later on one here, then one here, then one here. You can fill them in whatever order you want, as long as when you do fill them in, each number gets bigger as it goes further to the right. And you also need to know that you cannot repeat the same number within a row. For instance, like let's say 15. Maybe I'm going to write the 15 all the way at the end, right? If on a later turn we get another 15, I cannot duplicate a number within the same row. That's not allowed. I couldn't do that, okay? So, like I said, ascending order from left to right, you cannot repeat a number. Now, also, you'll see that on most of the rows and almost every space, there are multiple numbers in a given column. Sometimes it's just 2 numbers in a column. Sometimes it's all 3 where there's those pentagons like I talked about. Another thing you cannot do is you cannot duplicate a number in a given column. Okay, so for instance, if I had written a 7 here, I could not put a 7 there. You cannot have the same number in the same column. Okay, so that's not allowed. I could not do that. One thing that you can do though is with the columns, it doesn't have to be in a certain order. Like if I had a 10 here, I could put maybe a 9 there and a 12 there. It doesn't have to get bigger as you go down or bigger as you go up. As long as you don't repeat a number in the column, that's good enough, right? So you cannot repeat a number in a column, and you have to get bigger as you go to the right. Those are your caveats. Those are your restraints on where you can put the numbers. Now there's one more final constraint. You can only put the number that was rolled in one of the matching colored rows that corresponds to one of the dice that was rolled. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, in this case, I rolled all 3 dice. So I could put the number that was rolled, the 15, I could put that in any row. However, if, so let's say, maybe I'll put the 15 there on the far right. And again, I would want to put a big number to the right because if I can fill in every single space, then my score will be whatever that rightmost number is, and it would just be 15. Whereas if I have any vacancies, my score would just be the number of spaces that I did fill in, right? So 15 would be a really high number to score for a row, okay? So like I said, the number that you write has to correspond to one of the dice rolled. So maybe maybe she'll say, I'll put 15 here in the yellow, right? And then it would be Allie's turn. Allie would say, I don't want to roll all 3. I'm just going to roll maybe 2 of them. She'll roll the purple and the yellow. So she says 5. She's not quite too happy with 5. She's going to take that one chance for a reroll. Well, it's a 7, okay? So now both of us have a chance to write a 7 in our player boards. Now, since the yellow die was not rolled, we cannot put the 7 in the yellow row. We can only put a 7 in the orange or the purple row. Allie says, 7, I'll put it right there. I say, I'll put a 7 up here, right? Then be back to me. I say, I'm going to try and just roll a single purple. A 6. Ooh, I don't necessarily like that. You know what, though? Maybe I will take that. I'll put a 6 here in this pentagon because if I can get all 3 numbers filled in a pentagon, I could score those points. Allie says, she's thinking, I would want to put it here, right? She's wanting the 6 points for a pentagon. However, If she does that, she's got a 7 right there. There's literally no number that could fit between a 6 and a 7. So this would be a permanent empty space on her board. She doesn't want to do that. So Allie would say, you know what, as much as she would want to put a 6 there, she would put a 6 there. And again, it has to go in the purple row because that's the only color die that was rolled. Okay? Then it comes back to Allie. Allie says, you know what? She's just going to roll all 3. And the result is a 13. So Allie says, sure, I'll take a 13. She will put it maybe right here to the left of the 15. And I say, I think that's a good idea. I'll do something similar, right? Now that's back to me. I'll say, I'm going to just roll a single purple again. A 3. I'll try one more time. A 1. That's better. That's what I like. The 1 is going to go all the way to the left. Allie will similarly do the same thing, right? And so on. You keep going, right? Maybe I'll keep going in a second, but let me talk about how the game ends. Like I said, the game is going to end either when one player marks off their 4th and final failed attempt. Okay? If literally, like for instance, let's say it was, went back to Allie and it came back to me on my next turn, and I rolled, and first of all, I rolled a 6, right? Oh crap, I can't put a 6 there because that's about, I've already put that number. I can't copy a number. It has to keep getting bigger as you go. Maybe, so I got that one reroll, and on my reroll, I rolled a 1. Oh crap, the 1 doesn't fit either. So literally nothing that I put can get marked. In that case, that's an example of when I would have to take a missed throw, a failed attempt, right? Allie, however, would not have to take that because she wasn't the active player, okay? So you only have to mark a failed attempt if you are the active player and the number you rolled doesn't fit, right? So one way, like I said, one way to end the game is when somebody gets their 4th and final failed attempt. Then the game ends. Or when when any one player at the table has completely filled in 2 different colored rows, okay? Either one of those conditions triggers the end of the game. And when the game ends, it just immediately ends. You don't just keep going to make sure everybody's had the same number of turns. No, nothing like that. When somebody gets either their 4th failed attempt or 2 complete rows, then the game is just over and you're going to add up your scores. So I'll just show you, how the game might play and then what the scores would look like, how we would add up our scores, kind of corresponding to how I described it earlier. So Allie says, you know what? She will just roll all the dice. She wants to try and get a big number. And that's not it. So the number is 6. She says, you know what? I'm going to try and get something bigger. She'll get that one reroll and didn't get much bigger. That's 10. So she announces 10. And again, all 3 dice were rolled. We can put a 10 in any row. I'll say, you know what? This is chancy. I'm going to put a 10 here in the pentagon. I would need an 11 and a 12 specifically, but I could score the 10 points in that pentagon if I do. Allie says she'll put a 10 there. Why not? Then it's back to me. I say I'm going to roll the purple die and take my chances of getting a number between the 1 and the 6. Ooh, that doesn't work. I get 1 reroll, a 2. Good. I can put a 2. Allie can put a 2. Right? Then it's back to Allie. She's going to roll them all again. And the result is a 9. Allie says, yeah, I'll take the 9. She'll just put it right there. That works. I say, I can't put a 9 in orange because there's no space. Sure, I'll put a 9 maybe right here. Why not? I'll put a 9 there. Okay. Then I say, I'll roll all 3 again. So that would be also a 9. I don't like that. I'd have to put it in my purple row. So I'm going to do a reroll. So again, a 9. I guess I'm meant to put a 9. Okay. So here's another reminder. I could not put a 9 here because that would be duplicating a number within a column. You cannot do that, right? So that's not allowed. I can't put it there. So maybe I'll put the 9 here instead. Whoops, I'm losing my cap. I'll just leave it over there. So I'll put a 9 there. So then I would need a 7 and an 8. You know what? I don't like to have to be so specific. I'm going to move that 1 space over. I'll put a 9 right there. All right, so that was my turn. Allie says, sure, she'll put a 9 right here. Why not? Then she's going to roll all 3, and she gets a 7. She says, I'm going to reroll. And, oh, she likes that a little bit better. That's an 11. So with an 11, Allie says, you know what? I'll put it here in my purple row. I'll put the 11 there. And I say, I'll put it right here. I need an 11 and I need a 12. So I like that result a lot. Back to me, I will roll all 3. Ooh, I like that a lot. 16. 16, you know what? I'm going to put it here. Not only will I hopefully fill in my purple row to score that, but also that's one of my pentagons. If I can fill in that column, I'll score the 16 twice as my purple score and as a pentagon for completing that column. Allie likes that idea. She's going to try and do the same thing. So she'll put a 16 there as well. Then it's back to Allie. She rolls an 11, 12, 13. Allie says, sure, I'll take a 13. I will put it right here. Okay. She's almost done with her purple. Holy cow. I will put a 13 right here. I want to get that column filled in, and hopefully I can score something more than a 13 for my yellow score. So I'll try that. Okay. And then back to me. I'll roll all 3. 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, yes, that's what I wanted. I will put a 12 right there. And now I completed a column with all 3 numbers. So the number in the pentagon I can score. So I'll say that pentagon I scored 16. I like that a lot. With a 12, Allie says, sure, she will do something similar. She will put a 12 right there, and she will also score that 16 bonus. Okay. Then back to Allie. Allie says, you know what? Sure, she'll roll all 3 colors one more time. And she got an 11. She likes the 11. She's going to put it right there, right? And that means since she completed this column, that 10 in the pentagon, she will also score as bonus points. Well, sure enough, I could try and get a 12 there. I could not put an 11 because an 11 would be a duplicate. 10 would mean I would score 10 bonus points. Do I want to try and get a 12? I can't put a 10 here because there's already a 10 in that column. Ooh, you know what? I could put a 10 right here. Sure, why not? I'll put a 10 there, right next to the 9. Okay, back to me. I will roll all 3, trying to get a couple more high numbers before we start trying to get lower stuff. So 11, 12, 13, 14. Ooh, I like that. I can get a 14 at the end there. Allie will put a 14 here and hopefully get one last high number roll. Then she rolls again. She gets an 8. She's not too excited about that. She says, I'll try again. She rolls a 5. You know what? She'll say a 5. That's the highest number she can get there. And she has completed her purple row. So she's halfway to ending the game. When somebody completes 2 rows, it's over. And she's going to score 16. Her purple row is completely filled in. So she'll put a 16 because if the row rather is completely filled in, it's the rightmost number that you score. Okay. And with an 8, I can put an 8 right here. Sure. Then to me, I want another couple high numbers. 8 again. I don't like that. I'll get 1 reroll. Oof, a 5. I will put a 5. How about I put it right here? Okay. Then Allie says she'll put a 5. She'll put a 5 here as well. Okay. Then it's Allie's turn. She wants to try and get a number at the right of her orange. So 6, 7, 8, 9. She could put a 9 here, but she doesn't like that. She's going to try one more time. Ooh, 14. She's like, oh, dang it. It doesn't quite fit. She can't put a 14 here because she already has a 14. 14 won't fit in either one of those rows. So Allie has her first failed attempt. Womp womp. 14, I'll put it right there. Thank you. I will also try to get a big number. And 10, 13. I'm like, oh, I wanted a 12 to put it there, but that's all right. A 13 fits right here for me. I completed this column. So the number in the pentagon is a 10. So I can put a 10 there for that pentagon. Allie says a 13 will not fit. So she can't put a 13 because she's already got 13 in those 2 rows, and 13 is not bigger than 14. But she doesn't have to mark a failed attempt because it was my roll. So she doesn't have to mark anything off. So it's back to her. She's going to try one more time to get something big. And that's an 8. She says, I'll try again. And that's a 5. Well, she can't put a 5 in orange or purple. She has to put it in yellow or mark a failed attempt. She can't put it here or here because there's already 5s in those columns. So she says, you know what? She will put a 5 right here. Sure, why not? I will put a 5. Oh, I can't put it here. I'll do a 5 here. Then I need to get a 6 and a 7. Ugh, yikes. Okay, I'm backing myself into a corner. You know what? I'm just going to roll orange. I'll roll all 3 one more time. Okay, there's 11. Ooh, 11, not quite. I want to re-roll that. And that is 5, 6, 7. 7 could fit right there. Right, so I'll try that. Allie says with a 7, she could put a 7. She can't put it here because there's already a 7 there. She could put a 7 here. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, she'll put a 7 there. Okay, back to Allie's turn. She will roll all 3. Sure, why not? 4, 5, 6. A 6, she could put it there. She said she'll try to get a big number. She's going to try one more time to get a big number. Oh, she's like, yes, finally, a big number. 10, 15. That's exactly what she wanted. 15 fits there. She's super excited. 15 I can't use, unfortunately. I'd love to get 15, but I can't take it because it doesn't fit. All right, but it was her roll, so I don't mark anything. Back to me. I will take, I'll roll all three, but I'm going to try and get options with a lower number. So I'm going to roll all three. And so 3, 6, 8. 8, yes, 8 will fit right here. I like that. Allie says an 8 can fit right. She will put it right here. She likes that. So Allie's going to roll. She doesn't want to roll the purple because she doesn't want a high number, and she only has spaces in orange and yellow. So she's just going to roll 2. So she rolls those 2, and she says 8. Well, she can. She can put an 8 in the yellow. Right there, that works. She likes that. I say, I can put an 8. No, I can't. I've got an 8 there, and there's no space for an 8 there. So I can't put anything. Oh, you know what? I didn't even realize. I also filled in all my purple. So 16 is my score for purple as well. I'm going to also, my purple is filled in, so don't need to roll that anymore. I'm going to roll orange and yellow. A 3. A 3, I like that. I'm going to put it right here. Allie says she will put a 3. She'll try and put the 3 here. Sure. So she needs a 1 or a 2 and a 4. Oh, okay. So then it's her turn. She says she got a 5. A 5 won't fit because she's got 5s in those 2 rows. So she needs that 1 chance at a reroll. She got a 5 again. Boom. Womp womp. Another missed throw for Allie. 5. I can't fit either, but I don't have to mark it because it was her turn. I will roll. Ooh, an 11. Oh, 11 doesn't quite fit because I have an 11 in that column. I'll try 1 reroll. An 8. An 8 does not fit. I got my first failed attempt. Womp womp. Allie will roll again. She got a 5 again. She's like, those cursed 5s. Something else. She's going to try and reroll. She got a 3. She's like, no, a 3. A 3 would fit. It's less than a 5, but she's already got a 3 in that column, and she can't repeat a number in a row. So that's her third failed attempt. 1 more, and the game's over. With a 3, I can put a 3 right there. And that completed this first row, or this first column. So the pentagon number of 6, I can score that. I would love to get a 12. Do I chance rolling all 3 dice to get a high number? Sure, why not? Come on, 12, baby. 10, 11. Oh, so close. One more try. And that's 14. Dang it, too high. Failed attempt for me. Allie can't put a 14, so she doesn't mark anything. Then back to Allie. She will roll the orange and yellow, and that's a 9. Ooh, she would love to put it there, but she already has a 9. She can't take it. She's going to roll again, and she got a 6. A 6. Oh, a 6 does not fit. So here's Allie's fourth and final failed attempt. So the game is now over, right? 4 failed attempts. It was close to ending anyway because we were close to having a second filled in row, right? But now we'd add up the scores, okay? So again, reminder that if you have any empty spaces like we both do with orange and yellow, we've got empty spaces, your score for that row is simply the number of spaces you do have filled in. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spaces filled in orange, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces filled in yellow. Again, with purple, I've got them all filled in, and so if they're all filled in, you put the rightmost number as your score. So Allie has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for orange, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for yellow, and again, the 16 for purple. She did not get this column filled in, so she doesn't get this. She did not get this one, doesn't get that, didn't get that one either. So she just gets the 10 and the 16 bonus, and then she has minus 20 for 4 failed attempts. Ouch for Allie. So 7 and 7 is 14, 14 and 16 is 30. 30 minus 20 is 10. 10 and 10 is 20, plus 16, 36 would be Allie's final score. Ouch. That minus 20 hurt a lot. So I also don't get that column or that column. So I don't get those. And I only have minus 10, right? So the plus 10 here and the minus 10 there, that cancels itself out. So I've got 8 and 7 is 15. 15 and 16 is 31. 31 plus 6 is 37. Plus 16 would be 47, 53. So 53 to 36, I win. Yay! And that's how you play.
So that's Qwinto. As you can see, the games are really quick. It ends when somebody either gets 2 rows complete or they've got their 4th failed attempt, right? And then it's over, add up the scores. High score wins. Super easy, right? And like I said up front, the rules say that this goes from 2 to 5 or 2 to 4 players. Again, I think the reason why they've set that player count is so that you have more often the chance to choose which dice are rolled, right? To choose you know, if I want to roll all 3 dice or just 1 or maybe a combination of 2 so that you have a chance to have a little bit more control over your board. And I understand that, and that's fine. I'm not going to, you know, say that the designers were wrong or with what they did. I totally see the legitimacy of a rule like that. But I want to mention that you can just as easily play with a big group. Yeah, you won't maybe get to be the one who gets to pick what dice are rolled, but again, you still get to write down a number with everybody's turn, right? So maybe the game is not going to end because of 4 failed attempts, because maybe you're not the one actually choosing the dice and rolling and possibly having to mark a failed attempt. So maybe the game is going to end just when somebody completes 2 rows. So be it, right? We've definitely played with a lot bigger crowds than just 4, and it's worked out just fine. You know, so take that for, you know, for what it is. It's just the comment of some Joe Schmo who doesn't know much. I certainly didn't design the game, but I really enjoy it, and we have played with a lot more than just 4 players. So I don't see a reason why you couldn't. But again, I'll leave that up to you. You know, play it the way it was designed and intended, or, you know, make a little house rule. Again, hopefully this has been instructional or at least helpful. You know, teach you how to play the game, give you a little bit of understanding of how it works. Hopefully it teaches you well enough that you can sit down and play it yourself. And if you have any questions or comments, let me know. I'll be happy to respond. If there's something else you want me to explain, some other game, put it in the comments, and I'll try and I'll see what I can do. If you're so inclined, give me a like and a subscribe, and I appreciate your time and your willingness to watch. Once again, I'm Travis Mons with Once Upon a Board Game. Thanks.